Hey everybody, my name is Brian Wang. I'm at this beautiful place in Morgan Hill, California. I wanted to do a video for my buddy Jason Brew. I've been thinking about doing this video for a long time, so here it goes. When you're working with a cross-dominant shooter, you got a couple challenges. For a lot of men, we're right-handed, right-eye dominant. That's the majority of the male population, so it's a non-issue. When you shoot, right hand, right eye, not a problem. The problem is, if you're shooting right-handed, your left eye, you got a couple choices. First of all, you can close an eye. You can close an eye. Let's say I'm left eye dominant. You can close an eye and use your non-dominant eye. That's not good. Why? Because I shut off half my field of view. I'm already blocking half of this field of view, so I'm down to a quarter of my field of view. The next thing is you lose motion tracking, depth perception. Not really a good thing if you're looking at defensive shooting, right? It doesn't matter for target practice, but if you might use your gun for self-defense, not a good habit to get into. The second option you have, other than closing your eye, is to take your head and turn it. This is pretty good. One good way I learned is just take this chin and touch it to your bicep. If you're shooting an isosceles, it's perfect. Just touch your chin to your bicep. Now I'm using my left eye on the sights. Now, very common is for people to tilt their head. To line their sights up. Line their left eye up with the gun. Now, that is really easy to do. It's really common, but let's look at this. If you take your cell phone and you put it here in your head and you try and drive, what's going to happen? You lose your sense of horizon. You lose your sense of where up is and where down is. So if you got to run and move and shoot in a defensive encounter, it's not a habit you want to get into to take your head and tilt it over sideways. All right, so last thing then is you can take the gun and you can tilt the gun. Right there. So here it is lined up in front of my right eye, which is my dominant eye, but let's say I'm left eye dominant. I'll take this gun and I'll just turn it over sideways. If I turn it over sideways, this technique is called the Mcmillan Tilt. Now the Mcmillan Tilt comes from a gentleman who had found, he's cross-dominant, he found that if he just adjusted his sights, he could shoot bullseye properly by taking this gun and just turn it over sideways so it lined up with his left eye. Now, he was a bullseye shooter, we're defensive shooters, and that actually makes it easier because at a close distance, it's not going to make a difference if you turn the sights over or not. In fact, the gun works just fine upside down if you want to shoot it that way. The sights work just fine. Just line the sights up the way they normally should go, and your shots will be on target. All right, so once again, when we have cross-dominant shooter, if you have right hand, left eye dominant, you got a couple choices. Close an eye, not recommended. Tilt your head, not recommended. You can take your head and just turn it. That's fine. Or you can take the gun and turn the gun. Whichever one's comfortable for you, give them a try. Now, when you're working with someone with a long gun, eye dominance becomes a much bigger issue. So let's say I'm right eye dominant, right-handed. That's fine. I need to get my dominant eye here on the gun, mounted down on the stock, looking down the barrel. The problem is if I'm left eye dominant and I try and mount this gun, you'll be able to see because first of all, they're missing everywhere. Second of all, they try to put their nose on the stock because they're trying to look with their left eye over the gun. That ain't gonna work. So there's a couple ways to do it. You can close an eye, not recommended, especially for shotgun shooting. You can obscure an eye, partially obscure it with tape. And again, that's fine for shooting shotgun, but I don't recommend it because shotgun is instinctive and point shooting. The best bet, learn to shoot your shotgun left-handed. Remember, it's a two-handed gun. You gotta use two hands anyways. Might as well shoot it left-handed. That way, you got your short gun in your right hand, and you got your long gun for your dominant eye. So there you go. If you're left eye dominant, learn to shoot your shotgun left-handed, and it works just fine. Because that allows you then to use your dominant eye for the long gun and your dominant hand for the dexterity intensive handgun. Thank you. My name is Brian Wang. Be safe, train hard. I'll see you soon.